Hey everybody, welcome to my creative writing channel where I use critical analysis to help you tell your story. My name is Ella and today I wanted to return to the writing assignment where we use E prime to do some technical writing, and I picked the example of white light passing through a prism, and this falls in line with our section on enlightenment where we observe the natural world and come to conclusions about it that can be observed again. So light passing through a prism. This was the example that I gave. It's not very technical, but it explains it. Visible light exists as a tiny fraction of the overall electromagnetic spectrum. Each color that we see reflects light that emits an even smaller, more niche frequency. When white light, which contains all possibilities of color, passes through a refracting material, each color then becomes visible in order of its wavelength. This explains why rainbows result from such things as bubbles, prisms, and rain clouds. So, I wanted to point out where I feel like the hinges are, where you would normally say white light is a tiny fraction of the electromagnetic spectrum. If you wanted the language to be stronger, you would, well, I replaced it with exists as. Okay, this one. And each color that we see reflects light is better than saying each light that we see is reflecting. So a lot of times it's easy to see where you can find if you're just replacing the word is, then it's going to be more difficult because you're going to have to understand what you want to say. But if it is like a present participle involved, like is reflecting, then you can just change that to the active verb reflects. And when white light, which contains all possibilities of color, this is another example of the just straightforward equivalency. White light is all of the colors of the rainbow combined. But instead of saying is, we say contains. That is a more active verb. And the thing about when I mentioned earlier, visible light exists as a tiny fraction. Exists is a go-to for replacing is, but contains is going to convey more about that which we're trying to describe. I mean, it almost gives sort of like a vessel type feeling, but it's actually a spectrum, and that in that spectrum there are little sections, and one section is white light, which contains all possibilities of color. So when white light passes through a refracting material, there's another way that it doesn't address the problem of replacing more accurate, more descriptive verbs, but a lot of times if we have like an is reflecting, is refracting, we would say like the material is refracting the white light. But you can shorten that and turn it into an adjective by just describing the material instead of saying like the passive voice, using passive voice to describe what the material is doing. You can just say that is what the material is by using it as an adjective, refracting material. When white light passes through, each color then becomes visible in order. So becomes is another go-to. I used exists is one that's kind of a strong example of something that might be the equivalency of the word is, but becomes is definitely sometimes also a good equivalency. And this explains why rainbows result from such things as. So instead of saying this is why, you create more descriptive language. Like you're actually furthering, the strength of what you're describing when you say this explains it instead of this is why. There's more authority involved with the word explains. Like you're telling someone what you're going to tell them, and then you tell them, and then you tell them what you just told them. So, I really wish I had a video editor. I don't want to stop recording it. Okay, so those were the hinges. I feel like the places where you may like have is show up in your language, and you just want to find opportunities to replace that with something that is more strong, that gives like everything that you're describing, it's more dynamic, it's more active, it's more it creates a more lasting impression on one's understanding of what's really going on. So I hope you were able to find something helpful in that. Thank you for listening.